Good morning. Welcome to Quantum's Liberty, day 80. There you go, buddies. Some water. This is Quantum's Liberty, the DeStress series, and today's day 80. Good morning, buddies. So this morning on the phone with me, I have Emma and Ellen. And Emma and Ellen are in Michigan with their big sister, Rebecca, who we talked to last week. And their mom is a critical care nurse. So what we were talking about, Emma and Ellen, so glad you could be here. Thank you so much. What we were talking about was something interesting. Let's start tapping. Uh-oh, the puppy's gonna come and say hello. Good morning. What? So there he's his tail's hitting the guitar. Isn't that funny? Look at that. Silly puppy. So this morning, Emma and Ellen had some really powerful things to talk about in terms of feelings. Now, these girls are 8 years old. And Rebecca is their older sister, and their mom works in critical care. And keep on tapping. In the Butterworth Hospital in Michigan. So what is so amazing about their story is that it made them very angry to hear something that their mom said. And so what we want to know is we would like to just tap on those feelings, right? And we also want to do some tapping, which is going to help our minds to think very clearly about the next right thing to do. So, so Emma and Ellen were listening to their mom tell a story, and I'm not sure if their mom knew that they heard the story, but the story goes like this, and it made Emma feel very, to say her words, right, my dear, it was you felt violent inside, right, and very angry, right, but the word was like violent inside, and so we're tapping on that violence so that it doesn't feel so, you can have the stories be said to you, but not have so much anger that you can't think about the next right thing to do. So when we have that kind of, like they call it caveman brain, where you have so much anger that you really are not able to have your capacity to think about and use your imagination, then that leads you to maybe doing things that aren't quite right. And in this pandemic, things that might not be quite right, keep on tapping in nice deep breaths, ladies. Rebecca's with us too, but Emma and Ellen, so thank you so much for bringing this up, because one of the things that tapping does is tapping on this karate chop point. When you feel those feelings of feeling violent because something happens that makes you angry because something happened like to your mom, and we'll talk about that little story and we'll tap on that too. But when you're tapping on this point and the other points that we're going to do, which you guys know, Quantum's Liberty will teach you those points over time, and we're doing this series so that we can get through this pandemic in the best way, healthiest way we can, and support all of our critical care nurses and support all our family and our loved ones and ourselves, right? So when we come from a place of understanding and knowing ourselves, then we know what we can do to help the world to be a better place to be, and safer for everybody in our families too. So when we're tapping on this point in particular, what this point does, the karate chop point or the side of the hand point, and you can tap there and you can tap there and you can tap like that, right? Girls, you know how to do it. So what it does is it slows down the firing of the neurons to the amygdala in your brain, and then the amygdala sends oxygen out to your arms and your legs instead of when you have a stress hormone or when you're mad, right? Like you're feeling violent. So when you're tapping on this point and you're feeling violent, you say, I feel violent inside, right? Then what happens is that neurons, the neurons that are firing to the amygdala, right? And the amygdala says, send all that oxygen to run from the violence, right? Send it to the arms and legs. Instead, when you're tapping on this point, it keeps the oxygen in the prefrontal cortex. And then a fascinating thing happens. So with your thoughts being led like that, you have a thing that happens when you tap on that point there and there's not as much signaling to the amygdala. Then the oxygen can stay inside the prefrontal cortex, which is where you can think about the next best thing to do. Your imagination is unlocked. You can think clearly about problems and you can focus on your goals, and your creativity soars. And that is the power of a coherent mind. Now, when we're tapping on our points, our brain waves before the tapping, when we're very angry and violent, they become quite inconsistent. So this is a picture of an EEG. It's hooked up to different areas of the brain, and you can see that the lines, there's 16 of them, or sometimes 19, and they don't all match up. They're all over the place, and that's because the oxygen is diminished when you're in that big angry state, but then the capillaries constrict 70%. But then when you do your tapping, the capillaries stay nice and open, and the oxygen can get to the prefrontal cortex, where you can have this cohesive thinking, and you have this coherent mind and these coherent brain waves, where instead of going all over the place like the caveman brain, instead you have this laser focused brain waves in all these sections of your brain. You see how the spikes go up and down in the same places? And this is the power of a coherent mind. So you can actually think of the next best thing to do. And this comes out of Dr. Dawson Church's book, Mind to Matter, and I'll put the references in the bottom. And so Eric Leskowitz Dr. Eric Leskowitz of the Department of Psychiatry in Harvard Medical School is also a proponent of the beautiful power of the mind, and especially with tapping. So here we go with the tapping. The story, what we're going to do is we're going to tap on the story. So we're going to tap and we're going to slow that firing of the neurons to the amygdala, right? And then instead of having your body go blah and your brain go blah everywhere, instead it's going to be a nice coherent thought process which will direct us to be able to decide what is the next best thing to do. And then also I sent the girls some harmonicas so that after the tapping, if mom or anybody is still breathing like this, instead of, I don't have a harmonica with me, but I did find a kazoo. Oh, I don't know where I put it. Oh, here it is. Right. All right, so the harmonica, you can have a little bit of fun with your panic breathing. If you're still having panic breathing and still feeling overwhelmed, you can blow in and out on the harmonica, and that'll make you laugh a little. Talk about DeStress. So here we go with the story. So the girls told me the thing that made them feel really violent, keep on tapping and nice deep breaths. And then we're going to tap on feeling really healthy, because we know that tapping on these points will, in 1 week of tapping and meditation, will lower our cortisol levels 37%, which is our stress hormones. And that is great for having your immune system work really well, and also being able to think very clearly about the next best thing to do. So we're going to talk about this story so that when we're tapping like this, the images and the feelings in the story, this is breakthrough technology, and you have to tap on the trauma to get to that great space of feeling vibrantly healthy and well. So we tap on the trauma, and then we release those feelings, and we let them go, and maybe you'll cry, and that's okay, and you have to talk to the people who love you, and if your mom has anybody special for you to talk to, you talk to them too, or your dad, okay? So let's tap on the story, because this is the story that the girls were talking about. So they heard their mom say that mommy was working in the critical care unit, and she has to change into all these different clothes before she can go in and see a patient of hers. So she has these patients, and these patients were getting they were tanking, is what the girls said, right? They were tanking. And so mommy said that meant that the patient really, really wanted a glass of Kool-Aid really fast, right? And it had to happen like that, or they were going to tank. So the girls said, well, Mom was very, very upset because she couldn't change fast enough out of her old clothes to get into her new clothes so she could go in and give the Kool-Aid to the patient who was tanking, right? So it took her a whole minute to get out of her old clothes and get into her new clothes so she could bring the Kool-Aid in. And the lady had already tanked, and so it was like, she just couldn't get the Kool-Aid there fast enough. And that was the problem, she said, with like this virus, is that so many people are not wearing their mask. Like, she was crying, the girl said, Mommy was crying, right, because not really so much that the patient tanked and didn't get the Kool-Aid in time, but because on her drive home, she saw all these people lined up outside bars with no mask. And people around with no mask. So luckily, your governor has made some changes and is listening to the recent science, right? That's the power of a coherent mind, is that then with the tapping, Mommy was able to talk to the different doctors who are very concerned about what's going on, and they're advising our policymakers to make the right decisions. So some of the things that are happening is in El Paso, Texas, they're paying prisoners and other people just like some money, like $2 an hour, and this is to safely help the people who have tanked, right, during the COVID-19 pandemic. And so also the hospitals said that they had, in the United States, they had double the amount of people who had tanked. We're setting new records for that. So everybody wants this Kool-Aid. So I think what we have to do is we have to wear our mask, right, so that we can stay out of the hospitals, right? And then there will be enough healthcare workers to help everybody who is having trouble. Like Dr. Allison Johnson's the director of critical care at Johnson City Medical Center, and she said all the nurses are really tired and they're frustrated, and the doctors, and they're crying because everybody's not wearing masks and they're lining up outside, partying and having a good time. But we really just need to know that there's plenty of things that we have to do. Like Dr. Ron Cook of the Lubbock County Health Authority in Florida, he said that they're really, really in trouble because people are tanking and there's not enough Kool-Aid to go around. So there were 250,000 tanks in that area, even though they set up a parking garage in, for treating all these people who need their Kool-Aid. There's just not enough nurses and doctors to bring it to everybody. So let's tap on reducing our cortisol levels, right? So we can think with our brain waves in a coherent pattern, and then we can think about imaginatively and creatively what we need to do so that people aren't taking, right? All right, girls, thank you so much for telling me about your violence inside of you. I'm sure you're already feeling a little bit better because Quantum's Liberty tapping is breakthrough technology, fabulous stuff. But you really need to just tap on it before you can have this upsurge and feeling really, really radiant bliss and healthy. So let's tap on the feelings of feeling this violence and anger about the situation, and then we'll move into feeling radiant health. So Emma and Ellen are on the phone, and I really, really appreciate you and your family once again for coming here and for calling. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody else does. This is a DeStress series, so we want to talk about these things. So even though, repeat after me, even though I'm feeling violent because my mom's upset and I can't help her, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I'm feeling really violent, tap, 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 because I'm feeling like I can't do enough and I want to help get people Kool-Aid, but I can't. There's other ways I can help the nurses and the doctors to help their people who are tanking. And I can tap so I can think of the next best thing to do. Even though I feel really angry and violent inside, I deeply and completely honor myself and every feeling I have. This violence inside of my body, this violence inside of me, I see it right there. It's right inside of me. I have it. I see it and I feel it. I acknowledge it and I love it. I nurture it inside of me. I tap on the points, and this allows for cortisol levels to go down. Good repeating, girls. And also for my immunoglobulin levels to go up. Beautiful things are released, like dopamine, which is my go-get-em hormone, and serotonin, which is my I've got it hormone. I can think of the next best thing to do. These guys, meaning these hormones, they're flooding around in my body and my brain when I tap. And then they unlock oxytocin, which is my love hormone. And I can be very intimate with what I have to do next. I own my imagination and think coherently with laser focus, and I can wear a mask, and I can keep socially distant. I can follow my policy makers' directions, who are informed by nurses and doctors and scientists, and we know what to do next. And I own my health. I am that person in radiant health. I deserve this blissful health. I am feeling these beautiful hormones and neurotransmitters as they're flooding my body and my brain. I walk and talk in radiant health. I am that radiant health in mind, body, and spirit. Girls, thank you so much for your honesty and for sharing your thoughts and your beautiful story. And I'm sure that with everybody using their mask and things like that, that there won't be a problem getting Kool-Aid when somebody is tanking. All right? I really appreciate your story. I can't even tell you how powerful it is. You girls are absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.